And thanks for staying on the Joy News channel. This is your election headquarters. We're bringing you Connect Africa now, but there's a breaking story that we need to bring to you before our conversation for tonight, and it's got to do with the presidential race of the governing New Patriotic Party. In the last few minutes, developments striking the governing party and, of course, questioning the integrity and, of course, processes towards selecting the eventual winner of the NPP's presidential race, with the former Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kyerematens announcing to the country in the last few minutes that he is out of the race. What you see now is an official statement coming through from Alan Kyerematens. Of course, it's a press release by the Honourable Kyerematens to that effect from his campaign team, and a personal statement signed by him. Joining us on this matter is presidential correspondent Elton Broadway, who's joining us to, of course, go through the details of what we have coming through. But the statement there from Alan Kyerematens, as you can see on your screens, just follow together with me as we go through, of course, line by line, some of the concerns he's been raising about the process. But he starts by pointing out that on Sunday, the 27th of August, 2023, I issued a public statement which made reference to the selection and shortlisting of presidential aspirants by the Special Electoral College convened by the New Patriotic Party on the 26th of August 2023. After having carefully analyzed the results of the said elections, it is absolutely clear to me that from events leading to, during and after the elections, that the Special Delegates Conference was strategically and tactically skewed in favor of one particular aspirant. The pronouncements made by some leading members of our party, both before and after the elections, has lent weight to my observations. The former Trade and Industry Minister continues to indicate that the level of, first of all, intimidation of varying intensity directly and indirectly unleashed a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across 16 regions and is, quote, unprecedented in the history of our party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in the Northeast region has suffered some severe damage to his eyesight arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of these elections as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee will forever remain a dark spot in the history of the internal elections within the party. This incident and various acts of violence and collusion reported in other voting centers are appalling, unconscionable, and despicable. I'm committed and, of course, I value the safety of those who work with me and for me, and I will finish and always fight for their interest. The statement goes ahead to put ahead, a very crucial question. I keep asking myself, which the Trade Minister is indicating here. How did we get here as a political party in the first place? And how far are we prepared to tread on this dangerous path to self-destruction? Regrettably, I'm not convinced that the circumstances I have referred to earlier will not persist, even be escalated in the next round of elections, for which balloting is scheduled for Wednesday, the 6th of September 2023. In light of the foregoing, I wish to confirm that I am honorably withdrawing from the process that will lead to the presidential primaries to be held on the 4th of November 2023. In the next upcoming weeks, I will provide an indication of the role that I will play in politics in Ghana after consultations with my family and other well-wishers, various stakeholders, and interest groups. I wish all the other aspirants, as well as they continue on their journey, I also wish to use this opportunity to express my profound gratitude once again to my family, the Alan for President campaign team, and all my teaming supporters in Ghana and from around the world who have supported me in diverse ways over the years. Please be assured that the battle is still the Lord's, and that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. A statement signed by the former Trade and Industry Minister. And if you're joining us on the Joy News channel, we just have this breaking news coming through a couple of minutes ago from the camp of Alan Kyerematens, who's now officially out of the race, will no longer be contesting the elections. And now it does pave way for some 4 individuals who have been cleared by the party to contest the November 4 elections. That includes that includes the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We also know about Kennedy Ejapon, who's also raising concerns about the process. The Greek Minister, Dr. Kuto Efrie, is also in this race. And the latest add-on being Adanimo, who had to, of course, triumph over Boakye Jaku, who equally moved and, of course, left the race on grounds of legal issues which he believes will affect the credibility of the exercise. So it's breaking now for you, but this individual we're talking about, you need to know about him, who he is, and what his journey has been with the New Patriotic Party, having a long-term ambition of, wanting to run the race on the party's ticket as its flag bearer. So let's talk about Alan Kyerematen, his chances ever since he stepped into the scene and, of course, joined the race, contesting President Akufo-Addo himself, and now going head-to-head with the Vice President and others who were in the race. Joining us now as data analyst will join us, Isaac Ofieche, to look at the figures, the chances of this individual we're talking about since 2007, a consistent decline, first of all, in his popularity. But many say this was his time. Adrusu, as his, members of his campaign team would say.
Probably will be truncated for now. This would have been Alan Kyerematen's 4th, presidential primaries in the NPP. He came into the scene in 2007, where he was able to garner about 32.3% of the votes. Then he contested against the current president, President Akufo-Addo, who gained more votes than, Alan Kyerematen. Then in 2010, we saw Alan Kyerematen, coming to again in the scene. He dropped from that 32.3% in 2007 now to 19.91%, a huge decline from that 32% in 2007. Then Alan comes again in 2014, where people were actually expecting him to do better, probably against, President Akufo-Addo, who had already gone 2 elections and had lost. Alan then drops from, 19.91% in 2010 to now 4.75% in 2014. And so if you look at the trend, there's been, a steady decline in terms of Alan Kyerematen's popularity in the NPP. As far as the, flag bearership race is concerned, he's dropped from 32.3% in 2007 to 4.75%. But it's fair enough to say that if you compare his performance in 2014 and 2023 in terms of the super delegates, there is some sort of marginal increase.
Yeah, and we need to state that
exactly.
boldly. 10.29%.
10.2 if you compare to 9,
something we've seen in 2014.
Exactly.
It does suggest that there were hopes for him at least.
Absolutely. He actually didn't, intend to place second in the super delegate conference. This was a big shock to all of us when, Kennedy Ejapon actually placed second, with Alan Kyerematen placing third. But there's this interesting analysis that we always talk about, what we call the Alan Kyerematen effect. That we say that if you hold all other things constant, all other factors constant, there's an interesting trend that Alan Kyerematen's drop in vote, the effect that it has on the NPP stronghold, which is the Ashanti region. So, for instance, in 2007, Alan Kyerematen comes to the space, contests against President Akufo-Addo. He loses against President Akufo-Addo with 32%. What happens in the Ashanti region is that they then go ahead to drop their votes in the main election by 4.5% in 2008. Then Alan comes again in 2010. He loses again to President Akufo-Addo woefully. Then Ashanti region then drops their vote by 1.6 percentage points in the main election. 2014, Alan then comes to the space again. He loses to President Akufo-Addo, but something happens. Something unique happens in 2016.
Anytime we do not see him participating, joyfully in the process, the Ashanti votes are
absolutely. If you hold all other, factors constant. In 2016, something happened. He then goes on a campaign tour with President Akufo-Addo. What happens in the Ashanti region? When Alan decided to support President Akufo-Addo in 2016 in public, what happens in the Ashanti region is that their votes then increase by 5.4 percentage points. 2020 COVID. The party allowed President Akufo-Addo to go unopposed. what happened in the Ashanti region? They dropped their vote by 3.5 percentage points.
So
this
that
is what we
clearly
call
tells you that the man we're
effect.
talking about here indeed holds constituency within the governing New Patriotic Party. Isaac Ofieje joining us with the data, speaking to the fact that Alan Kyerematens was indeed one of the forerunners going into this election. What an election night this is turning out to be, knowing that just next door in Nigeria, of course, we're expecting a ruling from their Supreme Court on what the outcome of the presidential elections is. So another hot case to be on the lookout for, which we'll be discussing very briefly on Connect Africa. But of course, let's look at the chances of Alan now, and of course, when the first round was done. That is where all of this is starting from. He believes that the process has not been fair and that some candidates have undue advantage. Let me bring in presidential correspondent Elton Broadway, who's joining us via Zoom now. Elton, not a very good time for the Alan campaign, but you have this all under wraps. And of course, let's make a sense of what's happening within the camp now, the campaign team of Alan Kyerematens. Are his people happy about this announcement? Because this is a statement, unlike before, which would have been signed by Boabin, Asamoah, or of course would see the rest signing the statement. This time around, the man himself has put out the statement and a sign indicating that he's pulling out of the race. And beyond that as well, he's asking, how did the party get here? And he's even warning that the party is treading on dangerous grounds towards self-destruction. What does that mean, really?
Well, Blessed, in fact, what I can say for a fact is that the statements you are reading now went through a lot of reforms, if you like, a lot of reforms, a lot of amendments before finally coming up, because a lot of interests were at play. Indeed, I can say for a fact that this decision taken by Alan, the decision was arrived at after going through sequence of events after the Super Delegates Congress, which ended last month. And then over the weekend, Mr. Alan Kyerematens was in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. My information is that he consulted with the Ashanti, and then yesterday he had a broad consultation with a large number of supporters, very close members of the party, and then later met with former President John Kufuor. And indeed, my information that at this meeting was even some of the presidential hopefuls in the just ended Super Delegates Congress, and these people didn't make the first five. And so there was some kind of concern. Alan himself had his own proposal on the table, but some people were against some positions he had taken. And so that was the reason why the press conference this morning was cancelled, because the entire team had not come to a decision on what to do next. There were those who were of the view that if he was to withdraw and then decide to contest as an independent candidate, they were not going to follow him because they believe they are members of the NPP and wouldn't want to, campaign against the NPP. So a lot of amendments, a lot of discussion, a lot of consultation went on, and I can say that the outcome is what we're seeing, contained in the statement as we have it.
Yeah, and then the instructive point he's putting out there, he's pointing out to us that he would now announce his future plans as a politician and the role he's going to play in Ghanaian politics. Some say that's a clear indication that Alan Kyerematens might consider running as an independent candidate.
In fact, Blessed, you are not far from the truth. But again, the issue that came up, reference was made to 2007 when he contested the flag bearership slot of the NPP for the first time, and then at the University of Ghana campus, he didn't make the 50+1 required to lead the NPP. Nana Akufo-Addo also did not make the 50+1. Alan put a little over 700 votes, but Nana Akufo-Addo went beyond 700 votes. Now, while the party was getting set to go for the runoff, he decided to now withdraw to allow Nana Akufo-Addo to lead the NPP. Now, the content of this letter, it's significant to note that in 2007, similar concerns were raised by Alan Kyerematens when you go to the then party national chairman expressing his reservation about what he described as attacks on his supporters. And some said that he had indicated that he was going to, resign from the NPP and then to now go his way. That, for a lot of people, has been a block on Alan's political, aspiration from 2007 up until now. So therefore, there was a need to be careful in the wording and in the communication to the public. And that for sure is what has come out. So now the next question, what are you going to do next? I know that there are those who think that he should show his weight behind one of the presidential aspirants in the November Congress. There are also those who have the view that he should contest as an independent candidate and see how favorable you are to the people of this country. He says that in the coming days he's going to announce his political future. But what I can say for sure is that he's not going to contest as an independent candidate. For my information, he's likely to still stay with the NPP, work for the NPP. He may not also declare support for any of the presidentials, but that's what I'm picking. But he will go on to express his reservation and ensure that the right thing is done in the party.
Yeah, indeed, presidential correspondent Elton Broadway joining us. And one more time, for those of you who missed that statement, we can just bring that up on your screens again for you to see it. This is the statement that we have received from Alan Kyerematens. For those of you who missed it, a statement he released a couple of minutes ago, which we're bringing to you for the very first time. And you're getting that on the Joy News channel, that Alan Kyerematens will no longer be in the race, contesting to become flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party. And that's the statement signed by the gentleman you see, of course, that we brought his picture to you and did some trend analysis with Isaac Ofieje on what the future actually holds for him. There's a lot more coming up on the Joy News Prime as we look at some of these unfolding matters. Plus, Elton, just before we go, we know that the NPP has been at the crossroads before in the 70s. Some say this is history repeating itself when, of course, the UNC challenge came up with Victor Usu and the others. Political history replaying possibly itself. And that will clearly happen if Alan decides to go independent. But you're saying it's not happening. Your final words on this? Elton? Okay, we've lost Elton Broadway there. Elton, if you can hear me, your comments on that? Yeah, we lost Elton Broadway, but of course, it's now confirmed to you, and of course, we'll bring you an update as and when we have them. Isaac, we need to go. Any final comments on what to be on the lookout for? Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia against. Now, possibly, the forerunner would be the man Kennedy Japan, who says he's giving a showdown. He says he's giving a showdown to the vice presidential.
So now we are moving away from the sample size of 961 to over 200,000 national delegates.
That's where the real showdown
is. Who
will
win? I mean, November 4th will be, an interesting space in our political history.
We'll see how that will play out. Isaac Ofieje joining us. Of course, we will definitely be bringing you some updates as and when we have it. But we're taking a break now. We'll return shortly.